Take a breath with me before we begin. If you've ever felt like faith came with pressure, like you were supposed to be better by now, more patient, more grateful, more disciplined, more certain, this reminder is for you. One of the most misunderstood ideas in spirituality, and honestly, one of the most damaging, is the belief that God is waiting for you to be perfect before you're fully accepted. Jesus never taught that. In fact, much of what he said and did was aimed at dismantling that belief entirely. He didn't come to reinforce the idea that love must be earned. He came to free people from it. If you look closely at the people Jesus spent time with, you'll notice something immediately. He didn't surround himself with the most polished, disciplined, or spiritually impressive people. He moved toward those who were confused, flawed, doubting, impulsive, emotionally messy, and still figuring things out. That wasn't an accident. It was the message. When Jesus spoke about being perfect, the word being used didn't mean flawless or mistake-free the way we think of perfection today. It meant whole, integrated, undivided, not pretending to be something you're not splitting yourself into acceptable and unacceptable parts. Wholeness, not performance. Perfectionism fractures the self. Wholeness restores it. Jesus understood that shame does not lead to transformation. Fear does not heal the heart. Pressure does not awaken the soul. Love does. This is why he said things like, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." Because the weight people were carrying wasn't life itself. It was the belief that they had to prove themselves worthy of love. And that belief creates anxiety. So many people today are exhausted, not because they lack faith, but because they're trying to maintain an image of who they think they're supposed to be for God. Always checking themselves, always correcting, always wondering if they're falling short. Jesus didn't come to add another layer of self-monitoring. He came to remove it. Again and again, he met people exactly where they were and responded not with condemnation, but with clarity and compassion. Think about how often he said things like, "Your faith has made you whole," not perfect, whole. Think about the woman caught in shame. He didn't deny that change mattered, but he removed condemnation first. Because growth doesn't happen safely under judgment. It happens when the nervous system finally relaxes. And this matters more than we realize. Perfectionism keeps the body in a constant state of threat, always alert, always bracing, always afraid of being exposed. Jesus' message did the opposite. He brought people into safety, emotionally, spiritually, internally, so that real transformation could occur. Even in the less familiar texts, like the Gospel of Thomas or the Gospel of Mary, this theme continues. The emphasis is not on moral performance, but on remembering, awakening, and returning to what is already within. You don't fix yourself into wholeness. You remember it. The anxiety many people feel around faith today isn't because they don't believe enough. It's because they believe they must constantly improve themselves to remain loved. Jesus gently dismantled that idea. He didn't say, "Change so you can be loved." He demonstrated, "You are loved." And from that place, change becomes possible. There's a huge difference. If you've ever felt like your mistakes disqualify you, like your doubts disappoint God, like your struggles mean you're failing spiritually, this is the reminder you may have missed. You are not loved because you're doing well. You're loved because love is what God is. And love does not withdraw when you struggle. Jesus didn't ask people to hide their brokenness. He invited them to bring it into the light, not to be shamed, but to be healed. He knew something deeply important. The parts of us we try hardest to perfect are often the parts that most need gentleness. If faith has ever felt heavy, if you've ever felt tired of trying to be good enough, if you've ever felt anxious about whether you're doing it right, let this land. You don't have to be perfect to be held. You don't have to be flawless to be guided. You don't have to earn rest. Grace isn't a reward for spiritual achievement. It's the environment where growth happens naturally. And this is where so many people misunderstand Jesus. They assume that if he spoke about transformation, he must have meant self-improvement through pressure. That if he spoke about holiness, he must have meant constant correction. But holiness, in the way Jesus lived and taught it, was not about being spotless. It was about being sincere, integrated, real. He didn't reward people for hiding their flaws. He met people who were honest about them. Think about Peter, impulsive, emotional, often saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. Jesus didn't replace him with someone more polished. He stayed with him through failure, denial, fear, and confusion. That alone should tell us something important. If perfection were the requirement, none of the disciples would have qualified. Yet Jesus trusted them anyway. This tells us that spiritual growth is not linear, it is relational. It unfolds through experience, not performance. Perfectionism tries to skip relationship and jump straight to outcome. Wholeness stays present with the process. This is why perfectionism often increases anxiety instead of reducing it. The nervous system never feels safe when love feels conditional. Jesus created safety first. When the body feels safe, the heart opens. When the heart opens, change becomes possible. When change becomes possible, it happens naturally, not forcefully. So many people today are anxious, not because they lack discipline, but because they are constantly monitoring themselves, watching their thoughts, judging their emotions, correcting their reactions, wondering if they're doing faith right. Jesus' way was different. He didn't ask people to manage themselves into holiness. He asked them to trust that love would lead them where fear never could. Even the call to repentance, which is often misunderstood, wasn't about self-condemnation. It meant a change of mind, a new way of seeing, a release of old beliefs that no longer serve truth, including the belief that you must be perfect to be loved. This is why Jesus repeatedly removed shame before anything else. Shame clouds perception. It keeps people stuck. It convinces them they are broken at the core. Jesus never taught that you are broken at the core. He taught that you are already connected to God, and that forgetting this is what causes suffering. In the Gospel of Mary, there is a deep emphasis on inner restoration rather than external conformity. Fear is portrayed as something that distorts the soul, while love and understanding restore it. That aligns perfectly with Jesus' public teachings. Fear fragments, love integrates. Perfectionism fragments the self into acceptable and unacceptable parts. Wholeness gathers all parts back together. This is why Jesus' message still feels radical today. He wasn't offering a new moral system. He was offering a new inner orientation, one rooted in trust instead of fear. If you feel tired of trying to be better, that exhaustion may not be a failure. It may be a sign that something deeper is ready to shift. You are not being asked to try harder. You are being invited to soften, to stop measuring yourself, to stop rehearsing your shortcomings, to stop believing that God's love fluctuates with your performance. Jesus' reminder is quiet but firm. You don't have to be perfect to walk with God. You don't have to be flawless to be guided. You don't have to earn rest. Grace is not a future reward. It is a present reality. And when you begin from that place, growth no longer feels like pressure. It feels like becoming. So if today you feel unfinished, uncertain, or still healing, you are not behind. You are exactly where growth happens. Take a slow breath. Let that land in the body, not just the mind. You are allowed to be human here. If this message lifted even a little weight off your heart, that's not an accident. These teachings were meant to bring peace, not pressure. If reflections like this help you release anxiety, quiet self-judgment, and reconnect with the heart of Jesus' message, I invite you to subscribe so you can return whenever you need grounding, clarity, or reassurance. Liking the video helps it reach others who may be carrying the same quiet burden. The belief that they have to be perfect to be loved. And if you're still learning how to be gentle with yourself, you're not doing it wrong. You're learning. Thank you for being here.